Yo, what is good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Renegade Roundtable podcast. Here, I am Jeffrey Kirby. As you can see, it's a very similar situation to last week. I'm here by myself right now, but Jared will be here again. Work. It is what it is. Nothing that he can really do about it. So, he will be on here at some point later on in the show because yet again, I got to give him. I gotta, give myself congratulations to me and all of my success, my prediction Super Bowl success. I'll have to rub that in, give myself champion's pose. But other than that, I mean, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Today's a surprisingly very crazy show. We have Todd McShay's mock draft 2.0 that just came out yesterday. We got some MLB talk to talk about. We got some Pirates to get into. Should the Pirates go and think about really re-signing Brian Reynolds? We'll talk about that. Major League Baseball, they have themselves a huge issue on their hands with multiple broadcasting platforms. We'll get into that. As you can tell, maybe by the jersey that I'm wearing, Juju Smith-Schuster, he got in the mix of things. So we're going to get into all that. And, of course, what we're going to start off with today is obviously what happened on Sunday with the Super Bowl. Obviously, it'll be kind of the last time that we get to react to football, NFL football at least, games until August when the preseason happens. So, yeah, it's this was one of those games where this was honestly to me one of those games that was really, really fun to watch. And for those that really, really like defense, well, then maybe not so much because it was not as much defense as, there was just not really that much defense being played. I mean, 38-35, both teams on offense were doing, it seems like, whatever they wanted. But at the end of the day, Kansas City came out on top. We are going to talk about the James Bradberry call. We are going to talk about it. I am going to get Jared's opinion on it because that call has gone in multiple directions. People are bitching about it, or people are saying it's correct. Shut the hell up. That's exactly how this is going to go. That's how it has gone over the last 4 or 5 days, however long it's been. But for my personal, I'll give you guys my opinion on it right now. In my opinion, a lot of people were outraged from the jump. From the moment it happened, there was a whole bunch of outrage on it. To me personally, I had no issue with it. Because to me, there were 3 reasons. To me, it felt like there were 3 reasons why people were very pissed off about that play. Number 1 is because you were a gambler. And that was obviously the easiest thing to think about. You were a gambler. And you had money on this game, probably on the Eagles, or, whatever it was. Number 2, you were an Eagles fan, which I could combine with number 1 if you were an Eagles fan for that night because you were gambling, or just overall you were a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Which ironically, fun fact, it's funny, speaking of which, so throughout the year for the Steelers, I used to have to go to a local bar to watch Steeler games because they would have all the NFL Sunday ticket to where we could go and watch all the games. And obviously, here in Northeast Ohio, a lot of Steeler fans go there, so it'd always be there was 4 TVs at our bar. And you would always have one TV, which is the Browns, which, of course, because we are in Northeast Ohio, yes, I would expect that. And then the other big TV would always be the Steelers. And it was always funny because throughout the year, there was an Eagles fan. And we'd always have to make sure the Eagles game on was for him on one of the smaller TVs. But, yeah, that was always fun. But shout out to him. But back to this game and back to that call. And number 3, the other reason why people were pissed off about that play is because they felt like they were robbed of an overtime with the new overtime format. While, yes, it would have been fun to see Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni's offense, Andy Reid's offense, to see what that could pull out in the new overtime rules, because we only had the overtime rule, or we've only had one overtime in Super Bowl history, and that was obviously the infamous 28-3 comeback against with the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. So for me, it really didn't bother me, because if there was a call on the play, and here's the thing about that play. And another thing that people were bitching about was the fact that they were saying that ball wasn't catchable. Well, there's two things to that. Number one, there are certain plays, when you look at in the scheme of things, there are certain plays that aren't necessarily meant to look for an actual completion. If it gets completed, great. If not, that's not what the case of it was. The case of that play was to try and draw a call there. He was Juju Smith-Schuster. They were trying to get James Bradbury, or whoever the corner was that was going to be on him. They were trying to get him to go and try to commit a foul, and that's exactly what happened. And when you throw the ball that way, that's going to keep the referee's eyes on that play. They're going to see you grab. When you look on the slow-mo, those 2 or 3 separate times where James Bradbury grabbed him. Yes, it was a flag. So to me, it was annoying to see, and people are still bitching about it today. Like, what are they going to do at this point? If you lost money, okay, you lost your money. Whatever. It is what it is. The game's over. I mean, the season's over. What, are they going to go back and make them replay? Now with that grass, well, that was another thing, too. That grass was awful. And you know what? I had this theory. There's a theory with this. The theory on the fact that grass was so slippery is because when you look at the NFLPA, you look at, what is it, J.C. Tretter, who is the NFLPA president. They were saying that we need grass. We need natural grass, because you see the kinds of injuries that you get with turf. I mean, look at last year in the Super Bowl. They had turf. Odell got in a messed up, part of the turf got all messed up, and you see what happened. Blew out his knee. So, I mean, do I think that the NFL is like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna give you guys natural grass, but we're just gonna make it slippery as all get out? No, I don't think it was that. But there was a theory going on about that, and I kind of was interesting about it. But yeah, I mean, overall, the game was absolutely the game was great. You have Patrick Mahomes, who he gets hurt late in the first half, then goes in the second half and just absolutely lights it up. They light it up like no tomorrow, and that was the kind of offense that they would have needed. I don't remember if I said this last week on the show, but I do remember having a conversation with someone earlier in the week last week. Oh, there we go. Earlier in the week last week, I remember having a conversation saying the way that Kansas City is going to win, there was one key to Kansas City winning. Can that offensive line hold up against that great pass rush of that defensive line of Philadelphia? And that's exactly what they did. Did Kansas City allow a sack? I don't think so. They got close a few times. There was definitely a few times where they were close, but they didn't get to them. So not one sack, and that was going to be the way that they would win, and that's exactly what they did to win. That's what made what they did so impressive, because at the end of the day, like I said, both defense, there was not a whole lot of defense play to begin with. But when you looked at the kind of defense and the defense that was being talked about for 2 weeks straight, going into that game about how, what is Kansas City going to do against this defense? And I'll be completely honest with everyone. Going into that game, I felt like I was falling in, and I remember saying this. I thought I was going to fall into the same trap I fall into. It almost seems like every single year. I always fall into, you hear the narrative, offense wins games, defense wins championships. Last year, the defense of the Rams, they came out and won. They made plays at the very end of the game against Joe Burrow. They got to Joe Burrow a whole lot, and they won that game. And the game specifically that I think about was that Kansas City Tampa Bay Super Bowl, where I'm like, how is that Tampa Bay defense going to stop Kansas City's offense? I felt it, and I fell into the trap. They did. What was it, like 30-something to 9? The Chiefs, scored 9 points in a Super Bowl? That wasn't like, it felt like I was going to run into that trap again. But I did. Well, luckily for me, that wasn't the case, and I ended up being right. Which, by the way, Jared, whenever he does get in here, again, I'm on yes. Which, by the way, I did a little trolling job. Which, by the way, too, I'm going to relook this up. Here. I posted something on the Renegade Roundtable Twitter, which you can go follow us at Renegade_table. I put a poll out there. I had said it's Super Bowl Sunday, and I tagged at Jared is taking the Eagles. I was taking the Chiefs. Who will win? Jared got the slight edge in vote. 52% of the voters on our poll voted for the Eagles. The Eagles were a 1.5-point favorite, if I'm not mistaken. So you understood why people were voting for Indy, or for Philly, not Indy. Wow, for Philly. But at the end of the day, Philly came out on top, which leads us to the next thing that we want to get into before Jared gets it here, and then we'll kind of reiterate some of the stuff that I've talked about, get his opinion on everything. Now I'm gonna go onto Twitter here because I'm gonna refine this. I should have had this prepared, but I didn't think I was gonna talk about this, but I want to get into it now. So if you guys give me a minute here, I'm gonna look something up. We're gonna look up the Juju Smith-Schuster. We're gonna get into his tweet and get into what him and AJ Brown had to say. Let me go ahead and refine this on Twitter here, because a lot of people were, not happy about this as well. Or I'm wondering if he would have even deleted. Did he possibly delete it? Maybe, I don't know. Let me just go to Juju's Twitter account. Actually, you know what? Here, I'm gonna go to AJ Brown's account, and then because I want to also get his troll. I want to go and get his troll. I love how his Twitter, or his AJ Brown's Twitter, is 1K always open. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. So here's what it is. So let me zoom in a little bit. So Juju, this was the original tweet. He posted it on Valentine's Day, and it was James Radberry, and it says, "I'll hold you when it matters most." And then happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Now, as you can see, almost 55 million views. That is actually insane. And then it's getting all kinds of interaction. And then you get AJ Brown, who claps back and says, "First off, congratulations. Y'all deserve it. This is lame. You was on the way out of the league before Mahomes resurrected your career on your 1-year deal, TikTok boy. He admitted that he grabbed you, but don't act like you're like that or ever was. But congratulations again." Woo! Oh boy. And then it got even better, because then you had Patrick Mahomes clapping back. You had others just clapping back. Tyreek Hill said something. It was all crazy. Everyone was clapping at Juju Smith-Schuster for this. And I think LeGarrette Blount which LeGarrette Blount, that was a tweet that he put out, and I'm like, whoo. Now I got to, first off, if I can find out how to spell LeGarrette Blount, because LeGarrette Blount, here we go. Because his tweet was something that was very, okay, here we go. This is a tweet right here. He put 172 yards in the last 6 games, Super Bowl included, of the season, and no TDs. who held you then. Don't be a bleep head and continue to play your role on an already great team with a great coach. Congrats to my guy Travis Kelce in the future of the NFL at Patrick Mahomes. Y'all did y'all thing. Boy, oh boy. Okay, so Jared said he'll be home in about 20 minutes, so we're gonna hold off. We'll definitely be on for longer than that beforehand, and we're gonna get him on, and we're gonna definitely talk about some stuff. Kind of reiterate some of the stuff. But I mean, LeGarrette, and listen, as you can see, I am rocking the Juju jersey. Juju Smith-Schuster, he was by far my favorite Steeler when he was in Pittsburgh, especially, I mean, throughout the whole time, he was my favorite Steeler, period, point blank. For those that really knew me, or the people that knew me personally knew how much love I have for Juju Smith-Schuster, and I still do. Let me not act like that I'm still, he left, which is ironic because he left 20 minutes after, the announcement that he went to the Chiefs happened 20 minutes after the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson. I remember that. But in terms of this, I feel like I'm kind of mixed. I'm kind of mixed on how I feel about his tweet. I understand AJ Brown clapping back. I totally get it. I understand it. You got to defend your teammate. You got to do what you got to do. And people were wondering, with Patrick Mahomes tweeting, that man just be bored. I mean, publicly, it'll look like he's trying to defend his boy Juju, but I'm wondering how much he's annoyed by it. And it's going to be a real interesting thing because, Juju, like he mentioned in this tweet, only had signed a 1-year deal. So he's a free agent again. I'm not sure if that was the greatest of looks for you. Now, Juju did have a decent year. Let me go back and refine this. Let me go and find Juju Smith-Schuster's tweets, or not tweets. Juju Smith-Schuster stats for this year. So he had this year. Okay. So he had 78 catches for almost 1,000 yards. He had a couple 100-yard games. But yeah, like he mentioned, down the stretch, he did not. I mean, you look at the last few games: 7 catches for 53 yards in the Super Bowl versus Cincinnati, 1 catch, 7 yards. Jacksonville, 2 catches, 29 yards. I mean, once that the Texans game happened on December 18th, he went on for, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 17 catches. He went for 17 catches in a 1, 2, 3, in a 6-game span. That's 3 catches a game. You wanted to get yourself a bag, that's not the way to do it. Down the stretch, I mean, like I said, 78 catches for almost 1,000 yards, that's not bad. That could be that's wide receiver 2 numbers. But like I said, 17 catches for however many yards in the last 6-7 games, that's not the way to do it either. So it's going to be very interesting. And I also saw, of course, the conversation of, should the Steelers bring back Juju Smith-Schuster? Now, obviously, as a fan, I would love it because I get to wear this jersey more again. And, of course, like I said, I love Juju. And I feel like you can never have too many weapons. But at the same time, no. It's not going to happen. And I know people are just like to talk. We all know that. But at the end of the day, Juju's not coming back. He'll go somewhere else. And simple as that. Simple as that. All right, I want to get into some baseball talk here because we're going to save the mock draft stuff. And we're going to get Jared. I definitely want Jared's opinion on this, even though, well, he is a Yankee fan. So a lot of what I'm about to say does not intersect with his team whatsoever. What I'm about to mention when it comes to baseball, it affects me in multiple ways. It affects the Pirates fans. Steel Black says Cam Sutton is not getting re-signed. He is going to test free agency. Well, see, I wasn't talking about Cam Sutton. I was talking about Juju. But if you're just making that comment in itself, I mean, I can understand where, yeah, he wants to test free agency to see what he can get, because if he's able to get 10 million a year from someone, then yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. I don't want the Steelers to pay him 10 million. The max that I'd probably pay him is like 8.5 a year. I would love to get him on the deal that Mike Hilton signed for Cincinnati, 3 for 21. That would be my dream. That would be my absolute dream. But will that happen? We'll see. We got about a month. We're a little shy of a month away. March 13th, day before my birthday, ironically. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting free agency to see what's going to happen with him and the Steelers just overall. Obviously, now you have the QB situation. Derek Carr getting released. So for a lot of people, that obviously ended up not being a surprise, but it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. You still have Lamar Jackson. That whole situation is just, whoo boy. Thank God we are not covering Baltimore. Thank God this is not whatever, Ravens roundtable. Baltimore Ravens talk. Thank you, Lord, it's not that. But I mean, we may be having these conversations in a few years, depending on how Kenny Pickett looks. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this free agency is going to be interesting. But I'll be curious to see what happens with that. I do need to get into some baseball, because this is where we don't talk baseball all that often. To be honest, there hasn't really been a whole lot to talk about. But there's a couple different topics that I need to get into when it comes to the Pirates and when it comes to MLB just in itself. I'll start off with the Brian Reynolds thing. I'm gonna start off with Brian Reynolds, because obviously they are back in, I think it's Florida. Is that where they do their training camp, or not training camp? Their spring training is in Florida. I think it is. And obviously he talks, and we all know how this, how it goes with the Pirates. I've been a Cleveland Guardians fan my whole life. So I understand exactly when it comes to small market teams and trying to pay players. We just went through this a couple years ago with Francisco Lindor, but actually saying for Francisco Lindor was a whole lot more money to deal with than what we're going to be talking about with Brian Reynolds. But here's the thing when it comes to Brian Reynolds and this whole contract scenario thing between him and the Pirates. Number one, he's under control. He signed, what was it, like a 2-year, like $13 million deal or something like that, 2 years. So it's like, so he's getting like $6.5 million a year, which that's a bargain deal when it comes to Brian Reynolds. But here's the thing that is kind of interesting. And like I said, I understand completely everything that is going on with the Pirates, because I'm a Guardians fan. I understand when it comes to small market talk. Jared, on the other hand, they don't know about that. All they know is just throwing money around like they're at a strip club in Atlanta. That's all they know about. And the TV money stuff that we're going to talk about, they don't have to worry about that. But I understand exactly where this is going with Brian Reynolds, and I understand the fan base of what I'm about to say. Is it because the fans want the Pirates to pay for some, they want to spend just to spend? Because fans, when they look at it, they just see the payroll. The Pirates, I think 28th in 2023 in payroll. It's only like 50-some million, not a lot at all. It's like a whole lot less. In fact, here I have Sport Track pulled up here. Let me refine the Pirates here, because I'm curious to see. I'm curious to know what the average is. Okay, payroll tracker. So for this year, the average salary is about almost 146 million. The Pirates are 28th at 54 million. Fans will sometimes say, just spend. They want to spend just to spend, which isn't the correct way to go about things. If you're going to be smart, yes, you would like to see your team spend, but you can't just willy-nilly go out and spend just to spend. They go out and they get. I mean, obviously, it was like a cheap. It was a small deal, 1 year deal for Andrew McCutcheon. Now, that's a nice story. But when you look at the Pirates, when you look at Ben Cherington, Bob Nutting, Derek Shelton, you look at all that. Where do they feel like they are at in the rebuild? That is one of the questions that you have to ask yourself. Because if they feel like they're close, okay, you might have a point. But if you feel like you're still a couple years away, then I'm not sure. It's one of those weird things. Because if you feel like you're close and you have a couple years of control, he's not a free agent for a couple more years. If I'm not mistaken, he has a couple more years until he's a free agent. So the Pirates don't have to trade him at all. There's no deadline. There's no nothing. They do not have to trade him if they feel like they don't want to trade him. They don't have to. But like I said, it's depending on where they feel like they are at. If they feel like they're close, okay, maybe you would want to invest some money and try to get over the hump and into contention. Now, on Sport Track earlier, this is something I was looking up. On Sport Track, his market value, what they have, is 8 years, $156.5 million, which is about 19 and a half, so close to $20 million a year. Now, to say the least, I don't care who it is, unless you are signing someone who, like, okay, I can understand if you were going to do it with maybe O'Neal Cruz. Like, if O'Neal Cruz, like, last year, when he came up, he immediately just became this absolute superstar. Okay, then I can understand maybe paying him 10 years or 8 years or something like that. But to me, I'm one of those people. I do not like these 8-year deals, these 10-year deals, these 13-year deals. I simply don't like that because at the end of the day, more times than not, for the first few years, yes, they're going to be worth it. But at the end of the day, back half is going to be money not well spent. I mean, you look at Miguel Cabrera, you look at Albert Pujols, you look at I'm drawing some blanks here, but there's more examples of that where people will spend an absolute crap ton of money on a whole bunch of years, and it just simply will not work in the back half. And you have to be smart about this, especially if you're a small market team, as small as the Pittsburgh Pirates are. But here's what's interesting. So, like I said, Sport Track has a market value of him at 8 years, $156.5 million. That's close to $20 million per year. Apparently, according to Jason Mackey, he wants a 8-year, $135 million, which is about $16.8 million. So if you look at millions per year, that's lower than what his quote unquote market value is. But I'm not, like I said, I don't like that term. I don't like the 8 years because right now he just turned 28 years old. He just turned 28. You give him an 8-year deal, you'll be paying him until he's 36. If I'm the Pirates and you were going to pay him, I think I would try to get him at about 4 years, $80 million. That would be it. I would not want to pay him maybe 5 years. But I would feel more comfortable at 4. 4 years and about $80 million. So you're getting him at higher money per year, a little bit more the market value. He would be getting more than what he was reportedly wanting, but you're still going to pay him for the term in which he's going to be good in his prime, and not have to worry about paying. Because even because now you look at 2022. He was on a decline. He did not play. He kind of faltered in a couple spots. He had a couple more home runs, but batting average went down. RBIs went down. I want to say slugging went down. A whole lot of stuff went down. So at the end of the day, I would not want to pay him 8 years. I would not want to give him 8 years. Give him 4, and then you could pay him until he's about 32, 33. And if, say, even after year 2 or year 3 of that deal, okay, you're not far off away from not being able, or you could deal him then. It'll be a whole lot easier to deal him at that point if there would be a team that would possibly want him, or if not, you would only be paying him for maybe a year or two more, and then you're saving your ass a whole lot. But I'm not a personal fan of these long ass deals. And like I said, Jared, he's going to be a guy that give out a whole lot of long-term deals and a whole lot of money. They throw out money. But yeah, I'm not a fan of wanting to pay Brian Rouse. Now, here's my thing. If you're not going to, if you are just simply not going to pay him, I'm still in the mindset you don't trade him right now. You do not trade him right now before the season starts. I would at least wait till the deadline. Wait till the deadline. You still have a year and a half of control, which can still be valuable, which is still valuable for a contending team that would trade him or that would trade for him. But see where you're at. If you were to somehow be close to 500 or at 500, you're not trading him. Because at that point, you're feeling like, oh, second half of the year, we might be able to do something. We might be able to make a push. In fact, I don't think you would be selling. You would be buying at that point. Not buying anything big, but you would be trying to buy something to see if you could get over to that hump and maybe get and sneak into that wild card or get into contention for the wild card. Now, obviously, if you're going to the deadline and you're just god awful and you're, 15 games under 500, well, then yes, you would consider looking at it, but it would depend on who you're going to get. Because if you're going to get a guy that is not going to be ready for a couple more years, well, then you're not necessarily, you're just kind of flatlining again. You're just going into, we're building for the future. When is the future going to be? 2037? Because it seems like when it comes to rebuilding teams in Major League Baseball, that's how it goes. They just rebuild for like 25 years. It feels like that because it's always, we're going to trade our best guy for future prospects. It won't be ready for maybe a couple of years. Maybe we'll get an MLB ready player. And it's just this whole cycle. And that's where, the Pirates had what, 2 years, maybe 3 years of being good, and then right back to purgatory. Right back to MLB purgatory. That's what's annoying about baseball. Now, with the Guardians, for me, it's different because obviously we're, in terms of payroll, we're 25th. So we're we're still in that bottom third. We're in that bottom fourth of Major League Baseball on payroll. We're at $75 million. Now, yes, we also won our division last year. We made it to the second round. And then it was like, okay, the Yankees said bye-bye to us. And then it was, all right, now we'll let the real teams play. It was a fun little Cinderella story. The Guardians make it to the second round. Then bye-bye. Now the real teams will play in the championship series. But you have to be smart. You've got to be able to obviously learn how to develop talent because that's something that the Guardians had been able to do. We had talked about earlier in previous podcasts, we've talked about, me and Caleb have talked about how the difference between Guardians and the Pirates, when it comes to the Guardians, they're able to produce pitching like no tomorrow. They were able to develop pitching. It didn't matter if you were going to trade whoever. The Guardians are probably going to go and end up trading Shane Bieber. Okay, they're going to, they have a top 100 prospect. He's like number 17, Dano Espino. He's the guy that he's going to come in. He'll just end up being the next star of pitching. It's just going to keep on going and going and going. That's how, if you can replenish talent like that, that's how you can consistently be good and not have to pay a whole lot of money. That's something that the Pirates need to be able to do better. If you can develop guys, if you could get more guys like Brian Hayes, get more guys like Brian Reynolds, get more guys like O'Neal Cruz, and develop those guys and continue to bring them up, that's how you can start to be good at a more consistent basis. That's the thing. That's the thing when it comes to these small market teams. And obviously, where you can't just, you just can't simply just say, hey, we're just gonna go ahead and throw a bunch of money in like Jared and they're in the Yankees or whoever else now, the Phillies or the Dodgers or whoever the hell else. All right, so there's my Brian Reynolds thing. Y'all can let me know down below. You comment down below what are your thoughts on Ryan Reynolds? Should they bring him back? Should they not? Here's another issue when it comes to Major League Baseball. And this is a major issue when it comes to Major League Baseball and being able to broadcast those games. So not only do you have Diamond Sports, which owns Bally Sports, they're filing for bankruptcy. You also have AT&T Sports Network, who is short on 3 teams' payments for baseball: the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Houston Astros, and the Colorado Rockies. They were short. They were on time. It just wasn't the amount of money that they were supposed to get. And then on top of that, like I mentioned with Bally Sports, they broadcast 14 teams. They own the rights to the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds, Cleveland Guardians, Detroit Tigers, Kansas City Royals, Los Angeles Angels, Miami Marlins, Milwaukee Brewers, Minnesota Twins, the Padres, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Texas Rangers, and the Tampa Bay Rays. So Bally owns the broadcasting rights to all of those teams. So right now there are currently over half of the teams in Major League Baseball are having issues in terms of how are they going to be able to watch their team this year. The Pirates are having that issue. The Guardians are having that issue for me here. The Cincinnati Reds, divisional rival for the Pirates. I mean, just like I mentioned, all those teams are going to have issues on are they going to be able to watch their team this year and what's going to happen. That is a major issue. That is a major issue because at the end of the day, now what are you going to do? How are you? I mean, Rob Manfred said that they have a contingency plan to where if that were going to be the case, if Bally Sports or whoever they can't pay their teams, they're not going. They're going to terminate their contract. In fact, I have a quote here. This was from their press conference earlier this week. Robert Manfred was asked about this. He said, quote, "We've been really clear that if Diamond doesn't pay under every single one of the broadcasting agreements, that creates a termination right, and our clubs will proceed to terminate those contracts. In the event that MLB stepped in, what we would do is we would produce the games. We would make use of our assets, the MLB network, to do that. We would go directly to the distributors, meaning Comcast, Charter, the big distributors, and make an agreement to have those games distributed on cable networks." So basically, to me, what it seems like what they're trying to see there is they're going to have to, if you can't get MLB Network, find a way to get MLB Network to those to the people who don't have it, to be able to where that they can to watch those games. Because here's the thing too, that now I'm not going to say that people are talking about, because people that are covering this are saying this, but it needs to be said, especially for the small market teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates here. That broadcasting money is absolutely huge. That is huge. Because it's more revenue that's coming in. When you don't have all that much money to spend, you need as much revenue to come in as possible, and then you lose out on that. Plus, you just had the COVID year a couple years ago. That is not good for the small market teams. Kansas City Royals, Miami Marlins, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and go on and on and on. That is the issue when it comes to Major League Baseball. That is one of the major issues that they are having. And the other major issue that they're falling into when it comes to baseball. In fact, here I have a clip here. We're gonna play this clip, and surprisingly, this was something from Andrew Fillipponi, who I tend to trash every single day as much as I can. Surprisingly, this was one of those clips that he posted, and I had to agree with. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna play this clip, and I'm gonna show you guys that know we're gonna talk about it. Okay, so that was Robert Manfred talking about issues with baseball and what he had to say about teams feeling like that there's a competitive issue. Yes, there is a competitive issue. We have been saying this as fans for far too long. There is no reason why a good majority of the teams go before spring training even starts. Yeah, we're not going to win. We're already eliminated from contention. It's going to be just a handful of teams. They'll compete. For a majority of us, we're not going to be able to compete. It's just how it's going to go. That's not how it should freaking be. You look at the NFL. Every single year, there's parity. You look at how many teams in the NFL have legitimate shots to win Super Bowls every year. You look at obviously you have Kansas City, you had Cincinnati, you had Buffalo. You always talked about Tampa Bay. You had Philadelphia in that mix. You had people are always talking about Baltimore. Green. You'll have a bunch of. Going into the year, the Minnesota Vikings were a team that they were competing. You have teams. Just kind of off the top of my head, I just named off fourth of the NFL that could be in contention. And that's just without, just out of the blink of my eye. That's before talking about other teams. Okay, they're a good team. That they can make some noise. Major League Baseball is not the case. And a lot of what I love about the NFL is the fact that there's a hard cap. I don't like this whole no cap or soft cap, like how the NBA, they have a soft cap. No, if you're going to have a cap, have a hard cap. You can say that whatever it is. I'll just throw out a number, 200 million. You cannot go over 200 million. Simple as that. Now, if you're going to have a cap, you would like to have a floor. Now, teams are not going to want to have a floor and the players are not going to want to have a cap because they feel like they won't be able to get paid as much, and the teams won't have one on the floor because the teams like the Pirates, where they're only spending, like I said, 55 million or 54 million. Say the floor is at 100 million or 75 million. They don't want to have to spend 75 million if they can't, or if they don't want to, or if they feel like they don't need to. They don't want to do that. So, but that's the issue that you're running with when it comes to Major League Baseball. You have a competitive issue where it's always the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, the Astros. They're able to spend all this kind of money. Even the Cubs, they're able to spend a whole lot of money. But at the end of the day, you look at, again, the Royals, the Marlins. Even the Tigers have spent a little bit of money. The Milwaukee Brewers have spent a little bit of money. It's not a good thing when this is the conversation that pisses me off every single year when it comes to baseball. This pisses me off because this is part of the reason why baseball seems like it's always going downhill. There's so much that makes this going downhill. From obviously the competitive issue to teams, wanting to tank a whole lot, taking forever to get out of tanks because tanking equals you don't have to spend money. You have the blackout issues. That's a whole separate thing that you could have got into with the broadcasting thing. There's just so many issues when it comes to baseball. Robert Manfred obviously is not obviously the king of all things baseball. He may be the king of all things baseball of hell. He might be one of those guys. But baseball they have a major issue. There is a major issue when it comes to baseball. You simply cannot continue to have this to where, like I said, Pirates fans, you have the Oakland A's where they're one of those teams that they're probably going to end up moving to Vegas. You just go down the list. There's only a select few teams that will spend money, and then after that, because there's no reason why you should be able to have one team, the New York Mets in 2023, that spends almost 300 million, and then another team like the Oakland A's who spend only 40 million. That's almost 6.5. That's like 6 times the amount of money that between the Mets and the Oakland A's, what they're able to spend. I mean, then you have the Yankees 267, the San Diego Padres 232, the Philadelphia Phillies they're at 223, the Dodgers 179, the Toronto Blue Jays they have a all right. So actually, I lied. The total payroll. So this is where it gets even worse. So the total payroll, the New York Mets, I was reading this wrong, 330 million. The New York Yankees, 267 million. The San Diego Padres, 251 million. The Philadelphia Phillies, 231 million. The Dodgers, 217. The Toronto Blue Jays, 205. The Atlanta Braves, 191. The LA Angels, 182. And it just goes on and on. And then, like I said, the Oakland A's at 40 million, the Baltimore Orioles at 50 million, the Pirates at 56 million. That's just not that's just not good for the sport. I am sorry. And I go back and forth with this argument, but no, right now where I am in the mindset, if you are not in the position to where you can go and spend the money that is required to build a championship caliber team, or then you either really need to fight to have some sort of cap to where if there's a better competitive advantage for these small market teams, or sell the team. Simple as that. Now, you could also look at it and say, yes, I'm just a big old fat slob who's just saying this. It's easier for me to say this behind a microphone. Yes, you could say that. Also, same thing that maybe every other radio host or podcast host or whoever the hell else you want to say who may have not played baseball in their professional baseball in their life. But that's where I'm at. There is absolutely no reason we're in a league where you have a team that's spending $330 million, but then another team that's only spending less than $41 million. That is just simply not the way to do things. I mean, let me go and see if I can find this. Let me see how much, like in the NFL here. Like, okay, right now. And I understand that things are completely different when it comes to the NFL and MLB, but it's kind of a point that I'm going to try to make. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it seems like that they've spent, there's $284 million on their quote unquote payroll, and I understand that they're $57 million over the cap. I get that, but then the lowest team is at 116. But then eventually you move on to 57. The cap is what, 224? So the highest you're going to get is 224 million or whatever it is, 220 something. And you're not going to have a team that, I mean, the Chicago Bears, they have 97 million in cap space. They could go and spend. They're going to spend. And it doesn't matter if you're in the Chicago market or the Houston market or the Miami market or the Carolina market. It doesn't matter. Those owners are able to pay, they're able to spend, and they do spend. It is very rare to have a team that doesn't spend a whole lot of money unless you are absolutely trash. But even then, I mean, look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were trash last year and previous year. They went out and spent a whole lot of money, and that's in Jacksonville. That is in Jacksonville. They went out and spent. It doesn't matter. If you want to make baseball better, that is a way to do it. Look at how the NFL has done it. And you know what's the other big thing when it comes to NFL versus Major League Baseball? One is national and one is regional. Baseball is a so regional thing. If you get a guy who is in Pittsburgh that cares and knows a whole lot about the Colorado Rockies, that is a rare thing. As a Steeler fan, I know what the hell is going on in San Francisco or in Dallas or in Denver or in Cleveland or in Baltimore or in Jacksonville. It doesn't matter. Football is not a regional sport. We know what the hell is going on. It is a whole lot harder to have that when it comes to baseball because it's, okay, if you're in Pittsburgh and you're a Pirates fan, you care about the Pirates. you care about the Guardians. If you're in Cleveland, you care about the Guardians. If you're in Colorado, you care about the Rockies. If you're in Seattle, you care about the Mariners. Maybe you care a tiny bit about like what your division is doing, but for the most part, you care about yourself. While in the NFL, while yes, we obviously care about our teams, you care about what's going on in the division. You care about what's going on in the conference. That is one of the major things that is wrong with baseball. I hate the fact that every single year we're going to continue to have this conversation because we're not going to get to the point where people are not going to things are not going to change. And that's the sad part about this. I think it will be a cold day in hell before things change. And it would be great as if somehow things do change in the next couple years, and then I end up on like cold blood or cold freezing takes or whatever. Because yes, then I would be glad to be on that because that would mean that something is happening for the good for the state of baseball. Simple as that. Simple as that. All right, Jared should be getting in here shortly. I see one of my boys in my Steeler group chat. He's posting mock drafts. So I am going to actually get into I am going to start to get into Todd McShay's mock draft. Now we're going to wait for Jared to get in here, and then we'll kind of reiterate some of the stuff that we have discussed already, get his opinion on things. But let's go ahead here and let's get started here. So this is the Todd McShay mock draft 2.0. Now I have not looked at this whatsoever. I don't know who anyone is taking. This came out yesterday, and I said, yeah, I'm not going to look at this. Usually I talk, I'll call up my man Hunter, and we'll discuss it and go from there. I did not do that. So what you're going to see is my raw, honest reaction to his mock. So number one overall, he has the Indianapolis Colts trading up to number one to get Bryce Young, which, okay. I'm not surprised. They go out and were they the team that got Shane Steichen? Oh, I think they were. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if Indianapolis they trade up, and whether they trade up for C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, it won't matter because. And I think if you're Chicago, because obviously people are trying to start up a rumor that they're going to trade Justin Fields. I'm not buying into that whatsoever. I feel like if you are Chicago, you try to trade down and you are calling the Indianapolis Colts because that is the prime position to where you can still get what you need and you can get a whole lot of draft capital to help your ball club, and it helps both sides because the Colts can get the quarterback of the future and the Chicago Bears, they can go and get whether it's Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. It doesn't matter. Number two, the Houston Texans are selecting C.J. Stroud. Okay, so like I said, it really won't matter. I mean, if it's Stroud or Bryce Young, either or, it's not going to surprise me whatsoever. Now, it's funny, I saw the picture of speaking of Bryce Young, I saw the picture of Bryce Young and Mina Kimes from ESPN, and I see people are trying to troll. I mean, I think she did say that she was wearing like 4-inch heels because it looked like they were kind of the same size, but I just thought that was kind of funny. But no, at the end of the day, whatever Houston does, whether it's Stroud or Bryce Young, it's not going to shock me whatsoever. All right, so number three, Will Anderson. Okay, so far 3 for 3 on non-shockers. And I'm going to assume I was going to say the Chicago Bears are going to get Jalen Carter. So right now, you're 4 for 4 on picks that you're not surprised with. You're not surprised with any of these picks whatsoever. Number 5, Seattle, Tyree Wilson. Okay, so you're 5 for 5 on picks that you're not surprised about. They need to go and improve that defense, and Tyree Wilson is an absolute beast. So yes, I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. Number 6, the Detroit Lions selected Myles Murphy. All right, so yeah, they need defense. They need defense. They need defense. Now, would they want to maybe get a corner? Yes, but I don't think the value is there at number 6. Maybe try to come back and pick, was it 15, 16, 17, 8, not 17, but somewhere in that range. they're going to probably go and try to get one of those corners, I would think. But yeah, in terms of defense, yeah, this doesn't surprise me. Number 7, the Vegas Raiders selecting Will Levis. So this is where the first interesting part of this comes into play. Because when it comes to the Raiders, now it's a matter of, do they go and get Will Levis? Do they light the hype of Anthony Richardson? What are they going to do now that they are officially out on Derek Carr and Tom Brady, like he mentions, is no longer there? Yeah, now it's going to be interesting to see what Josh McDaniels and company out in Vegas are going to want to do. Because if you're Josh McDaniels, your ass might be on the line here soon. Your job might be on the line. So do you go? And at this point, both of these guys are projects to me. Whether it's Anthony Richardson, whether it's Will Levis, both of them are projects to me. Anthony Richardson kind of reminds me more of Cam Newton. Will Levis reminds me more of, obviously, Josh Allen. But I think Josh Allen, the first 2 years, how Josh Allen's career went is how I think that Will Levis's career. I don't think he's going to be ready to start day one. So if you're the Raiders and you're going to get Will Levis, you better have a contingency plan to see what are you going to do as a bridge guy. Do you go after? Do you try to call Mitch Trubisky, or who do you call? Do you call a Jacoby Brissett or someone like that? Or do you just roll with Jarrett Stidham to begin with and go from there? I don't know. Number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. They select Peter Skoronski. All right, so obviously the first offensive lineman off the board, and you mentioned that a couple of their guys are heading into free agency. And Peter Skoronski, again, mentioned this a million times. We'll say it a million more times before the draft. I'm not as big of a fan on him as tackle, but I do like the position versatility. So, Atlanta, you can never go wrong with position versatility. They want to protect their future and what they think is Desmond Ridder. So, yeah. He mentions them going after Anthony Richardson. I don't think so whatsoever. And we got our boy Jared in here. What is good?
Not much, man. I'm finally in here.
We finally got you in here at about 6:57, but we're all here, so it's all good. We're looking into. We're looking.
I've seen you've been talking about the draft. Yes, I've seen Todd McShay.
Have you seen his mock draft?
I've seen what the Steelers picked.
Okay, well, don't tell me because I have not seen this.
If I'm correct, I'm not 100%.
Okay, but you've. Do you want me to go back and reiterate, or
no?
Okay, so we'll stick right here with Atlanta at number 8 then. Like I was telling everyone, I'm not surprised by it.
Not surprised, no.
He mentions Anthony Richardson here. I don't see it at all, but he says I'm not sure that.
I think they're sticking with Ridder for another year.
Number 9, the Carolina Panthers. They select Anthony Richardson. All right, so they. Like I mentioned before,
Cam Newton.
They wanted Cam Newton 2.0. You might get yourself Cam Newton 2.0.
Cam Newton, that's what it is. It's all what it is.
That's all what it is. So the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning defending NFC champions, they go and get Brian Breesy. All right. So Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox are, they're free agents. Fletcher Cox, he's getting up there in age. Javon Hargrave, I could maybe see them wanting to bring him back, but also they want to continue to build more on that amazing defensive line that they had. And you saw that they weren't able to get pressure in the Super Bowl. So what do? You go and add to it.
Yeah, depends if they bring Hargrave back. He's going to be expensive for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be expensive but it's going to be interesting to see. And they got a whole lot of free agents on defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so number 11. Okay, you know what, real quick? I'm going to make a comment on this.
Oh, boy.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if the first corner goes off the board here at 10.
No, I wouldn't be. I guess, like you said, they have a lot of free agents.
The value may be a little bit high, but I could if Philadelphia is really high on one of those corners, they might go after a corner, depending on how free agency goes. He mentions Bijan Robinson and Philly go when Miles Sanders here in the free agency. I don't think they're going to pay Miles Sanders and Bijan Robinson. No, I don't see them.
I don't see them drafting a running back personally.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be interesting.
Would be, but like, is it your really first need?
No.
Exactly.
Number 11, the Tennessee Titans select Paris Johnson. So obviously, for me as the Ohio State fan, I'm very upset. And that means that 2 of the 3 tackles are off the board. I'm almost starting to wondering if I need to add a 4th tackle into this mix.
You probably should. I don't know. I don't know the 4th tackle person.
DeJuan Jones.
Oh, well, there you go. Sorry, I don't keep track. I just know the first 3.
I mean, at the end of the day, DeJuan Jones, he's a right tackle, and I mean, how much if you
exactly?
Real quick, I'm just spitballing for the Steelers' sake. Okay, yes, you think about DeJuan Jones. Do you think that you can move him over to left tackle, or do you think that Jukes could go over to left tackle? I mean,
oh man, we don't know. That's the great thing.
So yeah, that's where that would become my only thing when it comes to DeJuan Jones. But Paris Johnson here. Right now, a lot of this draft is not really shocking me. Like, there's not really like Mel Kiper's 1.0 draft. There was a couple of them like, huh? This one so far is not really done. So far, this one has not been bad at all.
No, it's not. It's not surprising. Like I said, once the combine happens, then we'll get a sense of where everyone's going to be going.
Which combine is going to be is a couple of weeks from now.
Yes, it is like 2-3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Which also, you know what that means is, by the way, March 9th, the Renegade Roundtable Mock Draft 1.0. I know I talked about possibly there were talks about doing it there were some thoughts about possibly doing it today, but then Jared shot that down and said no. We're gonna wait till after the combine.
Wait till after the combine. That gives you a better sense of who. That's how I see it. You know, all of these are just guessing right now.
All right, so how I see it, we're doing it next week. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so number 12, the Houston Texans. Okay, so they go after Quentin Johnston here. Okay.
So yeah, if you get Stroud a weapon at number 2, yeah, that's not bad.
I was gonna say, at this point, they can name Jared Sanchez at pick 12 here, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, right. If they name me, they can call me. I won't be in shame.
982. Oh, sorry. Sorry, this ain't 2007 all over again. But no, yeah. Wherever they go, they got the quarterback of their future. Now, do they go after defense or do they go after a what? I mean, this case, they're going after a weapon. They could go for whoever the hell they want, and it will help better the ball club because they need, let's be honest,
anything.
Number 13, the New York Jets. They select Broderick Jones. So now the tackles are off the board, which is more and more looking like that's how it's going to be. And
so all 4 QBs went, right? So all 4
QBs have gone.
Okay.
All 3, which obviously if you're a team that is not needing a quarterback, you were ecstatic about that. When you have 4 quarterbacks going in the first 9 picks, that means there's a better chance that a good football player that you would need can fall to you. But yeah, Broderick Jones at pick number 13. Last year, their draft was phenomenal. When you go and get the offensive and defensive rookie of the year, that is a very good draft.
Just need a quarterback.
I mean, and we'll see. Will this possibly be the Green Bay Packers pick?
Well, we'll see.
We shall see. Maybe after Aaron Rodgers gets out of his 4 days of darkness.
That's hiatus.
Whatever the hell it is. All right, number 14, so the first corner is off the board. Joey Porter Jr., which...
Okay, I think I've seen this draft because I never remember Joey Porter Jr. went here. Okay.
So yeah, for some fans that they would be ecstatic because that means that the Steelers can't select Joey Porter Jr. because some fans are absolutely hating the idea of the Steelers getting Joey Porter Jr. because they don't like the idea that, of Joey Porter Sr. and the whole illiterate list of things that you can mention on why people don't like Joey Porter Jr. in the city of Pittsburgh. But in terms of New England, you never know what the hell they're going to do.
I have no idea what they're going to do, honestly.
You never know. I mean, I remember back in 2018, there were real talks that they were going to take the Lamar Jackson. Oh, God. All right, so number 15, the Green Bay Packers, they select Michael Mayer. All right, so this one doesn't surprise me. Robert Tonyan's a free agent. Doesn't surprise me whatsoever. And he is probably going to be the first tight end off the board, which, like I've mentioned before, he reminds me of Jason Witten. His nickname at Notre Dame was Baby Gronk.
Do the Packers have other needs, though? Is tight end really the best pick they need at 15?
But if they also, my thing is, my thought process would be on this, if they feel like that Aaron Rodgers loves their tight end, then maybe you could get a guy who's good at blocking and receiving, which is not,
like I said, is Aaron Rodgers still here or no? That's the question.
I don't know. Well, that is to be determined. Will it be the Jordan Love era? I don't know. We shall see.
Man.
Number 16, the Washington Commanders select Devin Witherspoon, which oh boy. Oh boy, I don't know if I like that giggling of you. You're giggling like a high school girl.
Yep.
I don't know if I like it. But no, in terms of Devin Witherspoon is one of those guys who has caught a lot. He is a riser.
A big riser.
He has the chance to become the 5th Illinois player to come out since 2000, or the 5th first rounder to come out of Illinois since 2000.
Wow. I didn't know it was that long.
And the last time, here's another fun fact for you. Speaking of Illinois, you know when the last time that an Illinois player got drafted in the first round?
I don't know.
2012. Whitney Merciless and A.J. Jenkins.
Really? Merciless? I didn't know it was from Illinois.
So those are your 2 fun facts of the day, brought to you by Jeff Kirby.
I think you know where this is.
Tanner McKee. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
All right, here you go. The floor is yours. I'll let you have the floor to start off.
Christian Gonzalez to the Pittsburgh Steelers. As this pick would be the best pick of the first round. I don't care. I'm a Steelers fan, and it's Christian Gonzalez. He's cornerback number 1 on my board and a lot of people's boards. It's crazy that Todd McShay, thank you. I appreciate it. If this happens, I love you. All right? I appreciate it.
So here's what's funny about Christian Gonzalez. I'm going to give you another fun fact. He nearly quit in high school.
I saw that tweet today, actually.
Yep. He quit nearly in high school because they placed him on JV, saying that he wasn't, quote-unquote, strong enough in the weight room. Gonzalez decides to stick with it and eventually accepted his offer to Colorado. 2 years later, transferred to Oregon and put himself in the national spotlight. Now, he can be the first Oregon defensive back drafted in 27 years. And Steel Black is saying that he is overrated.
Wow. Well,
why do you think he's overrated, Steel Black? I'm very curious as to why you think he's overrated.
Man, that's curious. I get it. The name pops out. I was on the train before, all the hype got there. So that's from me, that's what I'm saying. But,
6'2", 201.
Can play, man.
4 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. And I think when it comes to the argument of JPJ versus Christian Gonzalez, Christian Gonzalez is more polished. Do you trust the development of corners, which is probably what Joey Porter Jr. would need more of, is more development? Do you trust that in Pittsburgh? I don't. Steel Black says he's an overhyped prospect. Jared Forbes and Cam Smith and JPJ are all on the same level. JPJ, yes, I understand. Cam Smith is one of those weird. He's one of those very interesting.
That's the one I'm shocked about. Cam Smith is not really up here anymore, which is kind of shocking. But I get what you're saying, Steel Black. But listen, I tape don't lie, man. From that guy Christian Gonzalez, man, that guy's a baller.
And like I said, I mentioned this earlier because Steel Black mentioned that that they're good. He thinks that Cam Sutton's going to test free agency. Which, okay, if that's the case, well, then you need a corner to replace Cam Sutton, and Christian Gonzalez, I think, is the guy that you would need. And and I'm with you, Jared, on this. I like Christian Gonzalez.
Telling you.
Number 8. Oh, hello, Keely Ringo in the first round. Hello.
Interesting.
I haven't seen this in a little bit, but here we go. This is your boy.
Yeah, Keely. It's pretty, good size, didn't have a good ending to his college career, and, he didn't, Ohio State, he got burned a couple times that game, but he's still a good, solid, good corner, personally, Him and with next to Jeff Okuda would be amazing, honestly.
Yeah, they need defense. They were god awful on defense. So
they need anything on defense. Personally, they could use a D lineman. They could use a linebacker. Like I said, another corner. It just depends who's there for them.
Do you see someone like Trent Simpson going here?
They got that. I can definitely see that. They could definitely use him.
Interesting. Steelbox says also Christian was a late hyped prospect. No one was looking at until now. I will be hyped when he either is good at the combine or I'll still be mad if he is bad.
Well, we'll see. Combine.
I mean, that's the thing though with a lot of prospects. There's a lot of prospects who come on late in the process and get they get hyped later on in the year. Mm-hmm. I mean that's natural for a lot of people. If
the combine doesn't determine everything always. Just to let you guys know.
And I mean, let's be honest here. When it comes to the combine, there's a lot of people within the NFL who think that the combine is absolutely stupid and useless.
It is, but I think it just gets more the coaches and staff get to look at them, more in person. That's how I see it.
So, all right, number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They select Lucas Van Ness. Okay, so when it comes to them, obviously now they're without a quarterback for now. We'll see what happens. Right now they got Kyle Trask. So obviously they're not going to be able to get a quarterback here at pick 19. They're in a weird spot.
They're in a tough spot.
They're in a very weird spot. They lose Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich gets canned. So it's like he mentions could they move up for a quarterback? I don't see so. I think if they're going to go after a quarterback, they're going to go after one of these quarterbacks free agency. And it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers because I don't think that Green Bay's going to trade him.
I have the answer.
Yes. Wear either the number 10 or the number 2.
Oh, man, that's a great guess, Jeff. I'm glad you figured it out.
Does his name rhyme with Tetchel Mabitsky?
Oh, yeah. We cut Mitch. You can have him, Tampa. Good luck. That's what I could say.
Right before Little you got in here, I had mentioned Mitch Trubisky as a possible candidate for like the Raiders to try and go and sign him.
Interesting. Yeah, they could use him too. Shit.
Bill Black says, well, Gonzalez is not at the Senior Bowl, so Pro Day and Combine will be the only open to look at him. Which, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with him. I mean, a lot of people are hyped on him. Some, like you, may not be as hyped, but we'll see what happens when it comes. I'll be interested to see what his 40 time looks like, too.
Mm-hmm.
Number 20, the Seattle Seahawks select Brian Branch. So what's interesting about Brian Branch is that he is looked at as a possible corner and a safety.
Yeah, he is. I think he's a
Like
He's
I
a
mentioned
dual.
when it comes to Skorowski, I love position versatility. And if you got a guy who is a secondary player coming out of Alabama who can play corner and can play safety, yeah, you want that kind of guy on your football team. And why not? Why not add to that secondary of Jamal Adams, which I am still one of the few people who still believe in Jamal Adams. Damn it. A lot of people do not like him. Damn it, I still like him.
I don't hate him or like him. It's just he's been an average player, and he can't stay healthy.
I am a huge Jamal Adams guy.
And he can't stay healthy. Tell him to stay healthy.
That's true. But yeah, Seattle, they go and they get double defense in here.
Oh, okay. Who was the first one?
Tyree Wilson.
Oh, okay. So they got the edge guy.
So they get edge guy, and then they go and get themselves a guy in the secondary.
Yeah, they could get a secondary. They could get a linebacker too. They could use anything on defense, honestly.
So we'll go ahead and re-mention the possible Trent Simpson.
Yeah.
Sweepstakes here. Number 21. The LA Chargers going and getting Cam Smith. Ooh, this is a first in a couple of mocks that we've looked at.
It's a good pick.
Where Cam Smith goes in the first round.
Well, what other positions do the Chargers need?
They need defense.
I know defense is the main thing. They could use anything on defense, but Cam Smith, they could use another.
I mean,
I know they got Bosa, but they need a run stopper, man. They need someone to stop.
And then there's the possibility that Khalil Mack might be a possible trade or a possible cap guy.
Cap cut and Keenan Allen, which is kind of surprising. Well,
but I don't see I don't see them going wide receiver.
No,
I see them wanting to still improve on the defense because they might feel like they could go and get a wide receiver in a later round and go and get themselves still a guy that can contribute. But I mean, if they want to go in defensive line, they could go and get Smitty's boy from Baylor.
Yeah, he would be a good pick here.
So Keanu Benton, Mozzie Smith, if they feel, like he mentions those are early day two guys. We all know how that goes. Those are some guys that have the possibility to go in that later first round.
Go in the first round.
So we'll see.
I don't like this pick at all.
It's interesting to say the least.
I don't like it at all.
Do you not like the fit, or do you not like it because you feel like he's just gonna shit on us?
No, it's just the fit. Personally, they don't need a running back. They have J.K. Dobbins. They don't need another running back.
He's mentioned the fact that J.K. and Gus Edwards are both entering their final year of their deals.
So what? You need a wide receiver.
You know who has not gone yet?
Yeah, who?
Jordan Addison hasn't gone yet.
Exactly. They could have got Jordan Addison. They could have got is the Nigba? No, the Nigba didn't get chosen yet.
No, he has not been. He has not gone yet.
Exactly.
Well,
I don't know what I guess that's what he sees, but I don't see Bijan Robinson going to Baltimore. They will not get a running back. I will be confident. They will not get a running back in the first round.
Now, when you look at the kind of, if you're saying your case, you're looking at a receiver for Baltimore. It depends on what kind of receiver you want at that point. Because do you want a guy like Zay Flowers from Boston College who kind of reminds you of Tyler Lockett? Do you want a guy like Jordan Addison who's like a Devontae Smith? What about a Jackson Smith and Jigba who I don't know if I told you my comparison to him yet. I'll give it to you right now. He reminds me of a faster Jarvis Landry.
Okay. See it. But like I said, the Ravens are not picking a running back. What a waste of a pick. That's how I see it.
We'll see what Todd Monken and company has to say about that.
Because
All right, number 23, the Minnesota Vikings selects Jordan Addison. So Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison.
Really?
I'm not sure about this pick. If you want me
That's
to be completely honest, I'm not sure about this pick. You were god awful on defense last year.
what I'm saying.
You were god awful on defense.
They could have went with Drew Sanders.
Trent Simpson's on the board. Drew Sanders is on the board. You still have a whole bunch of other corners that are on the board that you could possibly go with.
They need help bad.
I mean, I don't see this.
I don't see it at all.
I don't know. Oh boy. Okay, so we got back-to-back receivers here with Jackson Smith and Jigma going to the Jags, which
wow, that would be fun for the Jags.
I mean, yeah, it would. Christian Kirk is playing well. Calvin Ridley is trying to get reinstated back.
It will be reinstated.
So it's like, okay, at that point, do they just want to go and give Trevor Lawrence another weapon to continue to add to that offense?
They could, or they could use another linebacker here. I could see if it's not a receiver.
So we're going back. So it feels like you know what? This is how I was last year with Nakobe Dean.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I just kept on every other pick. You know, this is where Nakobe Dean could go. This is how you and me are this year with Trent Simpson and Drew Sanders, where it's like,
well, with the Jags fan that I know a Jags fan. As much as it would, yes, they do exist.
Is he like 25% of their fan base?
I guess so, but he says
shout to Jags fans, shout to Duval.
But he says linebacker would be nice here. A linebacker, or maybe they were thinking an O-line as well, but they could use another corner. That they could use a corner, linebacker, offensive tackle.
Okay. I don't know. This pick is. I'm not mad at it. It's interesting to say the least.
If this happens, we play the Jags this year, so you'll be.
I will be upset because I would have to root against Jackson Smith and Jigba. I like doing that. Number 26. Oh, speaking of a guy that I mentioned a little bit ago, is Zay Flowers going to the Giants. Now, this is something where I could definitely see happening.
Yeah, the Giants could definitely use a receiver.
They definitely can. And Daniel Jones, will he be back? Who the hell knows?
I think he will be.
And then they let go of Sterling Shepard, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Not 100% on that.
So, yeah, they need a receiver. So, yeah, this is where a receiver comes into play. I'm like, yep, there you go. I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 26, the Dallas Cowboys, they go with Osiris Torrance from Florida. So they go back-to-back years with offensive linemen, going with Tyler Smith last year, who ended up being pretty damn good for them last year.
Mm-hmm. Not a bad pick.
So here's my thing. This is where I could possibly see a running back going because Tony Pollard, they're not going to pay him. If they look at a possible cap casualty in Zeke, this is where I could see them going with a Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I totally agree with you here. I could see another corner pair up with Trayvon Diggs as well, because they need a cornerback too.
And really I'm a guy that will never say no to offensive linemen.
Yeah,
and we all know that Dallas they are not afraid to invest in their offensive line. Some Steelers need to do. But yeah. I'm not mad at this pick, but this is where I could definitely see the running back going off the board.
I could see it. I totally agree with you.
Speaking of running backs, the Buffalo Bills. So didn't I last week I mentioned this a few times, whether it was on here or
it was last week. You did say this name.
So shout out to so that must mean that Todd McShay listens to the show. So shout out to you. Shout out to you. No, but I mean, yeah, if you're gonna go with a running back, if you're Buffalo, then yeah, you go with a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy who is a more receiving kind of back. Like I mentioned, to me, he is the best receiving back to come out of college since Christian McCaffrey. So, I
don't know what the Bills are going to do here. That's me personally.
The Bills are one of those teams where it's like they have more holes than people realize.
Like where, if you could tell me personally, because they could be
better in the offensive
line. Yeah, I think the
running back. I mean, receiving. Let's be honest, their receiving core is not as good as people think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, seems like I don't know why, but Stephon Diggs seems like he's one of those guys that's like kind of getting rumbled to like, could he possibly be getting traded? I don't think so as of now, but no. I mean, it seems like that could be a rumbling that's going on. Their offensive line is not as great as people think. And their linebacking core, I mean, it's just, I feel there's more holes than people realize, I think, when it comes to it.
It's true. It's true. I don't really deep dive into it. If I did, then I could definitely tell.
Steel Black is going back more on the Christian Gonzalez thing. He says, Emmanuel Forbes and JPJ and Cam Smith are all safer picks. Gonzalez is a player that has to go off as soon as he starts. For the others, it's going to take a year or two.
Yeah, that's true.
But if I'm the Steelers, I don't need a guy that's going to be good in a year or two. I need a guy who's going to be good now, especially when it comes to the corner.
Super Bowl next year.
Hey, well, I'll be at the parade.
I'll try to.
No, you will. I don't care. I will find your work and I will call and say, hey, he needs to fly out to Pittsburgh. It's what's happening. Number 28, the Cincinnati Bengals selecting Dalton Kincaid. This is an interesting pick because I'm not surprised about it. There's a Bengals fan that I do follow, and he's been talking about the possibility of going and getting a tight end, which they've done in the past. And Dalton Kincaid from Utah, could be the possible first ever tight end drafted in the first round from Utah in history.
Man, I'm rooting for you, Dalton. I hope you get there.
Another one of those fun facts that I have for you for another player.
I hope he does it. I hope you get the first round, Dalton.
So he played just 1 year of high school football. He went unranked as a recruit. He did not receive a single FBS offer. He walked on to the University of San Diego. 2 years later, he transferred to Utah and has led his team in total yards and TDs since. And like I said, now he could be the possible first Utah tight end to be drafted in the first round of program history.
Yeah, that'll be dope.
So he's going to be fun. I mean, 70 catches, 890 yards, 8 touchdowns at 6'4", 240. He
can not be good for us, but
good for us, but good for the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Number 29, the New Orleans Saints selecting Keon White, defensive end from Georgia Tech. This is one of those names where it's like I mentioned before, that you kind of get like the guys that you don't think are necessarily going to go in the first round, and then they do, or they're kind of like later bloomer guys. Keon White is one of those guys where it's like you've recently, over the last week or two, have started to see his name possibly pop in there. He's 6'5", 286. So he's a big guy coming off the edge. And like I said, this is not the first time that the Saints have done what have done this kind of thing. They did this with Peyton Turner a couple years ago. So they'd be going to the well again on defensive linemen. But again, the Saints are one of those weird teams where you just don't know what the hell they're doing, where are they at.
Yep, just like last year. You had no idea what they were doing.
They're they're stuck in purgatory, an NFL purgatory, smack dab in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Anton Harrison from Oklahoma. It's weird when it comes to him because he was one of those guys that you heard of originally going in the first round, and then he doesn't.
Is Keon related to Devin?
That I'm not sure about.
No idea.
But no, Anton Harrison was one of those guys where it's like originally you saw him going in the first, and then for a while you didn't see him going in the first round of mocks, and now you're starting to see him pop back up again.
Wasn't it really, really early he was being in the first round?
And then now for a while he wasn't in a lot of first rounds in the mocks, and now he's starting to pop up in there again. But yeah, so they're saying they're looking at this as more of just a depth piece.
Okay, I guess
Which, I mean, at that point, if you're getting a depth piece at pick, in the first round,
30.
you
I
know
say
you're
go. I
losing.
say go get a linebacker or a corner from them again.
Number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Jalen Duncan. This is a guy, again, I saw this is exactly the same way with Anton Harrison, where he was very early on in some mock drafts in the first round. This is the first mock draft I've seen in a while with Jalen Duncan going in the first round.
Yeah, it's one of those names. Definitely haven't heard in a while.
And I mean, when it comes to, so he says the Orlando Brown replacement, very well. Well, okay, yep. I read this wrong. So yeah, he would be right. So this could very well possibly be the Orlando Brown replacement. So
interesting.
He did struggle against top-tier talent 2022, allowing 6 sacks to Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. But he moves well for a 6'6 prospect. I'll be honest, I have not looked a whole lot into Jalen Duncan, but that will be something I will do more of, is looking more into him throughout the process.
Interesting.
But that is the Todd McShay 2.0 mock draft. For the most part, I'm not shocked by it, but there was definitely a couple picks where I'm like, huh?
Yep.
But not as many as Mel Kiper's 1.0.
Yeah. It's okay. We're only a couple days into the off season. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're 60-something days away from the NFL draft.
Jesus. 60-something days, man.
NFL draft countdown.
Was it like April 27th? I think that's what it is.
70 days.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, so April 27th, right?
Yep.
Jesus, I love that. I just guessed the 17th.
I'm excited for next year's draft. That Penn State left tackle is crazy. Yeah, that was a guy back when the Steelers were talking about tanking.
Oh, that guy!
Before he came back to Penn State. That was a guy that people were going absolute nuts about.
I would want him, man. I wish he came in this draft, man.
No, you wouldn't, because he wouldn't be there.
No, that's true.
He would be offensive tackle 1.
That's true.
But so that would be more of a shot for Paris Johnson. I mean, yes, you would you would like for him to be there strictly because yes, you would like him. But that gives a better shot for us to go and get Roderick Jones or Paris Johnson. But and then on top of having 4 quarterbacks go in the first couple picks, if you're the Steelers, and this is going for you and me, because I can speak for you and me, because we're not the weirdos who want a wide receiver at pick 17.
Hell to the no. Herb, I see you, Herb. I swear to God, you put another Jordan Addison. Don't put it out there, man.
And I'm also talking to you, CZ. I'm talking to you, Zach Celedonia. I'm talking to you.
I like Flash, man. He gets a pass from me.
They both get a flash, or
I know.
They both get a flash and a pass because they're our boys. But now, you know what?
It's not happening.
You know what? Tweet time. Just a friendly reminder: the Steelers, in caps,
will not be drafting a wide receiver.
Do not and will not be taking a wide receiver at pick 17.
Yep.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
They'll never do that. I would say never. It's very, very, very unlikely.
Done. Tweeted out. There we go. Perfect. All right. Before we get on out here, I want your quick and honest opinion. Steel Black says I'm a part of the no wide receiver at 17. So perfect. So we agree on something when it comes to the draft. I'll give you real quick a chance. I want your honest on the Juju thing. The tweets and The tweets and the hold. Yes or
Oh.
no? Was it a hold, or do you agree with the pick?
Damn right, it was a whole. Well, personally,
Or do you agree with the call?
no, I don't agree with the call because the Eagles should have won that game.
Oh yeah. By the way,
Wait,
hold on. Champions pose, baby. Congratulations to me and all of my
your
success.
success.
I told you what was gonna happen, and damn it, it happened.
Well, that call changed a lot for the game, so that changed the outcome. Personally,
You were a part of. Did
listen,
you gamble? Oh wait, you can't gamble. I forgot. Let's say
no,
you were still a part of the group of 3 reasons why people were pissed off at that call. Number 1, you were a gambler. Number 2, you were an Eagles fan and rooting for the Eagles. And number 3, you felt like you were robbed of the overtime.
just the ending, man. You can't just end it like that. If you don't call and hold the whole basically game, you call it there. Like, I can see he grabbed him a little bit, but come on, he's at the line of scrimmage. I guess he was impeding him, but the ball was overthrown by like 10 yards.
That was the point. That's the thing. That was the point. I mentioned this earlier before you were on. That was the exact point of that play. There are certain times where you throw the ball to attract more attention to the refs and think that you're going to get a call, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, and Mahomes pointed, come on. He's I'm sorry to say this, he's the new Tom Brady agenda of the NFL.
Got to have someone.
Like, come on. It wasn't a hold. I'm going to stick by it. I know Bradbury said, yeah, it's a hold if I could get with it. Yeah, so what? Come on. It's the end of the game. You can't just call it like that. It was such a good game.
Tell them not to hold next time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment. And until then, I hope to see you guys in the next video or next live stream. I need to drop a video. I might drop a video tonight. So I might drop a video tonight on another reaction player highlights. But until then, hope to see you guys in the next video or the next live stream next week. Stay safe. Have a great weekend. Peace out.